Happy New Year, everybody! My name's Parallax Abstraction, and welcome to my top 5 biggest surprises from PXA Peeks in 2016. In the past year, I expanded my channel from covering just retro games to also doing first impressions of indie titles. It's been a fun experiment, and it's exposed me to a bunch of great new games I might have missed otherwise. I'm looking forward to doing a bunch more of these in 2017. If you haven't been able to follow the series, I wanted to highlight 5 games in particular that were big surprises for me. They're all great games you should play in my opinion, but I'm pointing them out because I either went into them with low expectations or no expectations at all, and they ended up really impressing me. Each title is quite different, and they might not all be for you, but if any look appealing, I highly recommend picking them up. These are in no particular order, and I also left out the games that are still in early access. First up is Small Radios, Big Televisions. Developed in my hometown by one guy who did everything including the music, this is a puzzle game that you can control with just the mouse and a single key, with a simple but deep and dark narrative and a style I found captivating from the first frame. You're in a seemingly post-human extinction world, exploring some of the last structures left behind to try to piece together what happened and why, using audio tapes that contain virtual reality worlds. Hey, I didn't say it was a realistic style. It's been criticized for being both too short and too easy, but I came into it not having the slightest idea what it was about, or even what genre it was, and I think it's well worth it. Next is Neon Chrome, a cyberpunk roguelike made by the developers of the iconic Crimson Land twin-stick shooter. You play in runs, but there are numerous upgrades you can buy that persist between them, hence why it's a roguelite instead of a roguelike. You're in a Blade Runner-esque future where corporations basically run everything, and humanity is contained within massive skyscrapers that are essentially self-contained cities. You're trying to fight, stealth, and hack your way through your one of these, the fittingly named Neon Chrome, to take out the people who are enslaving the population within. It's long, challenging, and very rewarding if you stick with it. I wasn't really sure the Crimson Land devs had the chops to make something so much more complex than that relatively simple shooter, but they did an exquisite job, and hey, I'll play almost anything cyberpunk. Next is Tadpole Treble. One of the most delightfully charming games I've played in years. Made primarily by 2 brothers who come from a musical family, this is an adorable rhythm game where you're trying to guide a newly hatched and lost tadpole back to her parents. You'll play your way through several different levels, each of which is visually and musically completely different. It gets very challenging near the end, and while it doesn't take long to play through once, there are lots of secrets and alternative ways to play to keep you coming back. When I first saw this, it looked like a pretty basic indie rhythm game, but I was captivated by its style and charm and ended up playing through it to completion right after I finished recording. The variety of music alone is impressive, even more so when you realize that it was all made by the same 2 people. It's a game you can't help come away from with anything but a smile on your face. Next is Duskers, another roguelike, but one with a twist. Developed by the husband and wife team behind a virus named Tom, the closest thing I can describe this to is FTL, but there's more to it than that. You play as someone at a computer terminal controlling a group of robots from a command line with different traits and abilities through a derelict fleet of spaceships. You don't know what happened or why, but you aim to figure it out while also scavenging and trying to stay alive long enough to reach the end. Something is infesting these ships, but since you only see from a command interface perspective, you have no idea what. You don't always have to fight them, and oftentimes it's best you don't. This is a punishing game that requires a lot of planning and careful management of resources, with a good bit of RNG thrown in as well. The commonalities with FTL are apparent, but this is a slower experience that encourages you to just really stop and think at every turn. And last but not least is Halcyon 6 Starbase Commander. A Canadian-developed Kickstarter success story, this feels like a mashup of Star Control 2, my favorite game of all time, Master of Orion, and with JRPG combat plus a little bit of XCOM sprinkled on top. You're the leader of a human expeditionary force that finds the immensely powerful Halcyon 6 space station, a relic of a long-dead superior race. Shortly after you find it, Earth is destroyed, and you must try to rebuild humanity from the few colonies you have left in the galaxy. You'll be up against pirates, other races, plus the force that destroyed your home, and you have to manage personnel, fleets of ships, and research new technologies to fight off the forces hitting you from all sides. If you can't protect the colonies that supply you, they're gone for good. It's tough, but not too tough, and a great mashup of several different genres with a DOS-era pixel art style and fantastic animation. The writing also has that cheese factor Star Control 2 had, one of the many things that made that game so endearing to me. A new Star Control game is currently in the works at Stardock, but this is the closest thing to that right now, and it makes its own mark in a number of different ways. I somehow missed both the Kickstarter and early access releases of this game, not getting to try it until it was in full release. Personally, I'm very glad I waited till it was fully polished up. You'll definitely get a one more turn syndrome vibe playing this one. And there we have it, my top 5 biggest surprises from PXA Peeks in 2016. You can find full videos for all of these games on the channel, as well as ones for a number of other great indie games I played, both in full release and in early access. Making indie games is tough, and getting noticed is harder than it's ever been, and only getting tougher. But we've also never had a bigger bounty of amazing new experiences to play. I hope with PXA Peeks, I'll be able to keep pointing out cool and interesting titles that may not always appear on everyone's radar. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and see new episodes as they come out, and if you're an indie dev who would like to see your game covered, fire me an email from my channel's About page and let's talk. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a great 2017. See you next time, guys.